करेंगे उसे देख लेते हैं।
Raveena Tandon has been in the middle of a roaring controversy in Madhya Pradesh. Turns out much of it was much ado about nothing, but at least it got people talking about tigers and conservation. Raveena Tandon has just wrapped a shoot in Bhopal and joins us from a chat on tigers, on controversies, and the worrying rise in crime against women. Raveena ji, thank you very much for your time here on Mirror Now. I do realize that you've just returned to Mumbai. For viewers who may not know what had happened in Satpura, you were out for a tiger safari, you spot a tiger, it comes close, you click pictures, you put the video on your social media handle, it goes viral, and lo and behold, a controversy erupts. You are accused of being too close to the tiger. The forest department starts a probe. What happens next? Raveena, I think you are best placed to speak about that. What happens next?
Honestly, I'm still reeling under it because I really don't know what happened. It just hit me. I was like, really? Well, the first day I was a little too stressed, but I think now it's something that I can look back and I'm actually laughing about it because it was, like you said, much ado about nothing. And I thank the Madhya Pradesh forest officials for clarifying this finally. And I think they've done a great job. This was my second trip to Satpura. And I love the forest. I have been working towards conservation and towards wildlife and bringing out awareness as to how important it is for our forests to survive and thrive and our wildlife to survive and thrive. And suddenly something like this that one would not even dream of, because besides me there were a lot of other conservationists on the jeep, and we were like, what? I mean, where did this come from? So it was I think most of us these days are kind of victims of what is called a clickbait controversy. Just add the star's name to kind of get a good clickbait and kind of great sightings. I pun intended with sightings. Great sightings on the website. So I think it's just one of those things that one has to take with a pinch of salt.
But the fact is that the Madhya Pradesh Forest Department did step in to investigate what had happened. The accusation was, were you too close to the tiger? Was this too close for comfort? As a star, did you get some special treatment that you were not perhaps on the tourist trail and you got some, access inside the tiger reserve where tourists are not supposed to be? What do you make of that entire, that entire investigation that was launched? Was that unnecessary as well? Because anyone who had looked at the video, and we had a lot of people on the show, who are experts in tiger conservation, who were on this channel to say that, look, we are seeing the video here, and nothing about it should have raised a stink, but it has with the government department. Why do you think that happened?
But, honestly, I don't think it was the government department. I think what happened was that a few extra enthusiastic, media scribes kind of, I think it all started somewhere in MP that, oh, is the Jeep too close? And seeing the video, I don't think they kind of reported that the tigress walked up to us. We did not go close to the tigress, as in I talk about all of us present in the car, the driver and the guide included. In fact, if you see the video very clearly, the driver is heard saying that I'm going to back up as much as I can because we need to keep a distance from her so that she can cross ahead where she was headed to. And there was a certain distance that he could back up because, as you know, and everyone who's been to safari parks knows that when there's a tiger sighting, there are, the whole horde of jeeps kind of come and they're literally parked one behind the other. So there was a certain distance till he could back up. And then he had to stop. And everyone also who's a wildlife expert or who has been into forest knows that when a tigress has come close or she's crossing the path, no sudden movements or no loud noises should be made I love the pictures you're putting up, by the way. Thank you so much. Most of them have been clicked by me.
I hope we are giving you courtesy there. I'm just trying to look at the frame and wondering if I'm giving you courtesy there. We will. Not to worry. All those pictures, ladies and gentlemen, have been picked from Raveena Tandon's Twitter handle and from her Instagram handle as well.
Yes, because I look at the positive side, Shreya, and I say, okay, now the world knows that I am a wildlife photographer, and I work really seriously on our environment and our wildlife and our forests. So I think there's always a positive, and I always look for the positive in everything. So coming back to that, like I said, everyone knows that you're supposed to be completely silent and not make any sudden actions or sudden moves when the animal is walking close towards you. You just have to wait till the tiger comes close to you. She'll probably just sniff the jeep out here, which that didn't even happen. I mean, she was not even that close. You see the other videos all over, which are on any of these websites. Just Google tiger close encounters, and millions will come up from all over India's parks. In fact, she just crossed the road and went off, and like a I mean, to see the funny side of it, another wildlife conservationist and a very dear friend of mine, he actually turned around and told me, ke, I mean, what the hell? You should respond कि अगर tiger घुर्राएगा नहीं तो क्या पूंछ उठा के गाना गाएगा? So, I mean, let's see the funny side of the whole thing. And I think now, as you know, that there's been clarifications from the department as well. Let's just lie this to rest.
Okay, let's just lie this to rest. But the other silver lining is, Raveena, to this entire thing is that at least you have people now talking about tigers, and you have people talking about conservation, which is so important. Of all the tigers that are still left in this world, some 4,500 of them, 90%, more than 90% are in India. 3,000, which is why we are so lucky that you go to a Satpura or you go to a Ranthambore or you go to a Pench, you will still manage to probably spot a tiger. But, there are people who are saying that a wildlife reserve is not a wildlife resort. Where is the need to expose tigers to tourists? What's your view on that?
Well, as you know, that we have a lot of demarcated areas which are called the core areas, where tourists are not allowed. So there is a certain zone which is a buffer zone, then there is the tourism zone, and then there is the core area. So mostly tourists are permitted only to enter the buffer zones and the tourism areas, and there's a certain path that they're supposed to follow. And I think what is important is that these core areas remain untouched for actual private sanctuary for the tigers to kind of, escape into. If you see this entire generation of tigers that are there in the safari parks, they are used to vehicles, and they're used to they actually, since they were cubs, they have a lifetime of 16 to 18 years. So since they are cubs, they're actually reared to see these vehicles around. See, there's a cross discussion with every thing that is done for conservation. There is always a flip side of the coin. A lot of them are of the viewpoint that these should be sanctuaries and they should be completely closed off for tourists. But do you know that maximum amount of poaching actually happened during the COVID time when there weren't tourists in the parks? Because in a way, this is a kind of a natural patrolling that happens, because people are conscious of the vehicles entering the parks, and there are cameras that are working everything. You can fix cameras at every corner of the jungle. Yes, probably you can, but then that's hundreds and hundreds of acres of land. Maybe, I'm sorry, hundreds is a small thing, because forests are huge and vast, and it's very difficult to cover each corner of that forest. We have tried our best. I mean, in fact, I remember that I had done an entire a portrait exhibition of mine, and we had actually kind of collected a lot of money with the Earth Brigade Foundation, and actually put up solar pumps throughout Tadoba, the forest, and we had collected quite a lot of funds for that. So it is, I know how much one can do and how much one can't do. So it is, in a way, I think, very important, because the survival of our wildlife also depends economically on a lot of tourism, the areas around, the villages around. Otherwise, there are so many cases of poisoning and the man-animal conflict. All this is all hand in glove to a certain extent, because until and unless you don't encourage the villagers or the villages that are either inside the jungles or at the periphery of the buffers to kind of participate, be a part of Save the Tiger campaign, be a part of because for them it's an economic earning. Otherwise, they will convert all their land into farmland. There'll be nothing left of a forest. And if we completely close it up, besides the kind of patrolling that happens through government funds, of course, every forest department has a certain amount of budget, but there is again to a certain extent limitations to that. So for me, I feel it is important to bring about awareness for the survival of our species, for the survival of our wildlife. It is very important for people to be aware, for the villagers on the peripheries to be economically independent as well, and realize that yes, this is a good thing, and the more the tourists that come in, the better economical status for them, whether they open shops for souvenirs or they become guides or they become jeep drivers. For them, it's a living that they're earning if you are going to take their farmland away from them. So you see, this is a thing that will go on. There will be some, and like I said, there is a lot of core area that is designated for completely no human interference, where we just leave the animal alone to live its
Sure.
natural instinctive life.
Raveena, I know that you've always been very outspoken, not just about wildlife, but about multiple issues. You were very vocal when you spotted, uh, this is Bhopal, I do believe, at the Van Vihar, where there are some tourists, some people who have come to see the tigers. They're actually, harassing the tiger, throwing stones, etc. It's a video that you made. You put it out on social media, goes viral, and gets the forest department into a bit of trouble. Did that get you back into trouble as well? Can speaking your mind and being so outspoken get you into trouble as well sometimes?
Well, sometimes it does, but as far as this case is concerned, I would have my doubts, because I have a lot of friends who are forest officers, and I know the kind of passion and dedication that they work towards conservation and towards our wildlife. So I don't think I can really say that any forest officer would want to bring his or her own reserve, which is under them, into ill repute. So, keeping that aside, I would like to add another point about the tourists and about what really happened at or does happen at zoos. There is a lot of instances where there are these ruffians, there are these miscreants who, kind of pelt stones or poke the tigers, and with a wooden stick or something. And actually, in fact, one of the officials also said that they actually stand there and say, "Arey, fake hai, nakli tiger hai," until the tiger turns around and looks at them, and that's the reaction that they want, which I think is humiliation towards an animal. Unfortunately, he is in an enclosure and he's been put there for a reason. But as far as Van Vihar is concerned, Van Vihar is doing great work. And in fact, I tweeted about that as well. They are doing great work on conservation. They're doing great work with all the rescued cats. They, in fact, even have man eaters, and the man eaters are not shot dead. I mean, there are times where they are actually given a second lease of life. But yes, they cannot be subjected to humiliation. But there is where I blame the public. That's the problem, is that there is not so much awareness as to the compassion, the kindness, and the respect that we need to give to our wildlife, which is very important for us to teach our coming generations. I'm so happy and proud to say that both my children are absolutely incredible wildlife enthusiasts. My daughter's a photographer as well. In fact, 3 months ago, she won she won a prize for her one of her pictures that went into the Jaipur exhibition for wildlife. So I'm so proud to say that I brought up my children with this kind of kindness and compassion as to caring for distressed and animals. Keeping that aside, I think it is very necessary for all countrywide our forest departments to kind of sensitize the tourists who are going into the park. I feel there need to be very strict rules and regulations, noise control, especially these canters that go and the jeeps that go, littering in the park, noise control, trying to getting too excited when they see the tiger, they start screaming. Sometimes they can't manage their children. Their children start bawling and crying very loudly. And in fact, yes, call me a grumpy old woman. I don't really care about that. But there are so many times when I've turned around and actually fired people in the next Jeep or something, that can you keep your voices low? Like, don't scream, don't shout, or manage your child. And it's that kind of behavior. To be wildlife literate is very, very important point that we need to pick up. I've actually gotten guides to get off and pick up litter when someone has thrown from the jeep. And I tell the guides कि आप अपने टूरिस्ट को क्यों नहीं बोलते हो यहाँ पे कैसे पेपर कप फेंका है इन्होंने जंगल में, डस्टबिन सामने जाके डस्टबिन में डालो. There are times where I have roamed around in the jeep, and when we stop and see a plastic bottle lying, or a plastic bag lying, or something like that lying, we stop the jeep. I tell the guide, nahi jaake ut ke, because see, we are not permitted to get off the jeep at all. So as tourists, you cannot get off the jeep, but your guide or your driver can, and they can get down and pick up any litter they see, or any plastic that they see that can harm an animal.
Sure.
So these just few pointers which I think we need to improve. Otherwise, I think nothing else like the romance of our Indian forests and our Indian jungles. And I'm so proud that as a country, we are doing so well on it. So it just makes me completely proud that today India is for reviving most of the species that were going extinct because of the past years.
Raveena, I now want to focus your attention to something again that you've been very articulate about. Yes, wildlife, but there is something when you were away has happened in your city which has shamed this country. I'm fairly certain you've seen the video by now of that young South Korean YouTuber. She's out on the streets of Mumbai. She's live streaming, and here are these two boys who come on a bike, harass her, harangue her, pull her by her hand, almost try and kiss her till she runs to the safety of her hotel. When you saw that video, and a lot of us have seen the video in loop and been fairly disturbed about what has happened. Not just because she's a foreigner. One would be disturbed even if this was an Indian, but especially the fact that she's a foreigner because she doesn't understand the language, she doesn't know the people, she doesn't know the system. And for someone like her to go through something like this in the middle of a busy street, a well-lit street, and a street with people around. What was your reaction when you saw this video?
I was horrified, absolutely, because Mumbai is known to be one of the safest cities for us women to venture out at night, or actually at any time of the day, early morning as well. And it was really horrifying to watch something like that unfold. But I think the timely action taken by the Mumbai police was really praiseworthy. And I'm so glad that justice has been met, and to kind of set an example that something untoward like this should not occur again.
You are a Mumbai girl. I want to ask, a lot of parents in North India will say that if you need to go study, if you need to go stay in hostels, if you need to go work, especially for girls, go to Bombay. That's fine, don't go to Delhi. So that's the perception, that Bombay is a safe city for women. If you look at the data, NCRB data, the data doesn't bear that perception out, but at least that is the perception. What worried me was the fact that there were people around this young girl. She was clearly someone who was an outsider. It's very clear to you, the way she is speaking, she's holding a camera, that she doesn't belong to this city. I can see people around her, and these two men are misbehaving with her, and there is no one who steps in to stop the boys or to help her. Does that speak to you about, about the country and the city and the culture we have become?
Well, Shreya, I'll just, sorry, I interrupted at that point. But if you have seen the entire video, which I in fact do have it, and I have just retweeted it, there is a gentleman who did step in, young gentleman, and I would love to know his name, though Twitter does not say who his name was. He has then escorted her all the way back till where she wanted to. In fact, he has stopped and he has spoken to those boys. I wish I could send that video to you right now. Please look for the extended video streaming.
Don't worry, we'll get it from you. Yeah.
She has him a lot of times, And so I'm really, really proud of that young man. I feel he should also be, so if we have the bad, we also have the good. And we do this kind of restores faith in humanity that someone did step up for her. And I'm so proud of that young gentleman. His name is not out yet, but I'm really, really proud of him.
So we'll try and get his name out, because the video that this young lady tweeted, based on which all the police action has happened, cuts that part out. So I've not seen the extended video. Now that you point it out, we'll probably put it out for our viewers as well. A lot of people, Raveena, before I wrap up, a lot of young women are now saying that the only way you can get your complaint registered with the police now is that you make a video of the harassment that is taking place. Otherwise, no one will take you seriously. And this is, by the way, the experience that many women across this country have. That you go to the police will say, "Madam, हाथी तो पकड़ा, कौन सी बहुत बड़ी बात थी, जाने दीजिए, कहाँ आप इन चक्करों में पड़ रही हैं?" Till they put out a video, the video goes viral, and then the police takes it responsibly and seriously enough. What is it that you'll tell, you yourself have a young daughter. We've just seen her on our screen as well. You say she's a wildlife photographer. What do you tell her about being safe on India's streets? And what do you say to people who say, ki bhaiya video bana lo, otherwise no one will take your complaint seriously?
Well, social media has its pros and cons, and I think this is one of the pros, that you have enough proof right out there. And that's why, I don't know if you realized or no, but I did not delete my video at all that was under so much scrutiny, because, like I said, the proof was all out there for people to analyze. And that is why the truth kind of came out. And you saw across the country, all wildlife experts stood up and said there is nothing wrong with what is going on there. And so I think it is a boon in a way, that it can be used for the betterment of any situation given that you find yourself in. I feel in this case, or otherwise, as what we have heard of women finding little resistance for police to file FIRs or file or a complaint or register a complaint, is some more, again, I would say, an entire sensitization of our police force to a certain extent, maybe to kind of reach out and help the victims and understand the situation, that even molestation should not be tolerated in any way. And I am so proud to say, actually, that I'm one of the delegates at the W20 that is happening now at the G20 summit, and we are speaking about issues of women and children in India. And we are speaking about women across all fields in our country, and the progress that we are making, and also the issues that are still things that are still need to be tackled, and tackled at a war footing. And I'm sure this is going to be one of them.
We'll leave it there, Raveena Tandon. Thank you so much. That young woman on our screens, actually on a show yesterday with us, said, I still love India. The fact is, I've traveled so many places in the world, and it's not like this is the first time something like this has happened to me. It has happened to me in other countries as well. But, India is the place where people stood by me, created this outrage, and those two men are behind bars. So that's, I think, the positive we can take away from her story as well. And the positive we take away from your wildlife controversy, the roaring controversy, is that at least it got people talking about conservation and tigers. Raveena Tandon, such a pleasure to speak to you here on Mirror Now. Thank you very much.
Tigress abhi zinda hai.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Bye.